Andrew Jackson, war hero, populist champion, and the man who transformed the American presidency. He is seen as one of the country's great leaders. After all, he is the one sitting on the $20 bill. His name is synonymous with American grit, and his life story is the stuff of legends. But what if I told you he was also America's worst great president? You see, Andrew Jackson's legacy is a paradox. On the one hand, he's a symbol of the common man's victory over the elite, an orphan turned president. On the other hand, he is responsible for some of the darkest policies in American history. His policies did help shape the nation, but it also left a dark and lasting stain on it. So today we're diving into the story of President Andrew Jackson to find out why his legacy is both revered and celebrated. So, Andrew Jackson's journey to the White House is one of the most remarkable stories in American history. Born in 1767 to poor Scottish-Irish immigrants, Jackson grew up in the rough and tumble backwoods of the Carolines. By the age of 14, he was an orphan, his family destroyed by the American Revolution. But Jackson wasn't just a survivor, he was a fighter. As a teenager, he was captured by the British and famously refused to clean officers' boots. For his defiance, he was slashed across the face, leaving a scar that he would carry for life. As he grew older, Jackson made a name for himself as a fearless military leader. His crowning achievement? The Battle of New Orleans in the War of 1812, where he led a ragtag militia to a stunning victory against the British. This victory made Jackson a national hero and cemented his image as a man of the people, a warrior who would fight for the American interests at all costs. It wasn't long before Jackson set his sights to the presidency. In 1828, he ran on a platform that promised to shake up the status quo in Washington, a promise that resonated with the people. He won by a landslide, becoming the first president born in poverty and the first to truly represent America's frontier spirit. But his presidency would be anything but ordinary. Jackson's inauguration was unlike anything the country had ever seen. Thousands of supporters flooded the White House, drinking, smashing furniture, and even grinding cheese into the carpets. The event quickly spiraled into chaos, symbolizing Jackson's disruptive arrival in Washington. To his supporters, he was a populist hero, a man who would take on the elites and give power back to the people. He promised to drain the so-called swamp of Washington, and he began by implementing what he called a rotation in office, replacing long-standing officials with his loyal supporters. But his critics, Jackson's rotation was nothing more than a spoil system that rewarded loyalty over competence. By clearing out experienced officials and installing friends, Jackson laid the groundwork for a new form of corruption in American politics. And yet, Jackson's popularity only grew. He was seen as a man of action, someone who would break down the barriers between the people and the government. But Jackson's sense of loyalty and his desire for control would lead him down some very dark paths. Jackson's most infamous decision was his policy towards Native Americans. You see, in 1830 he signed the Indian Removal Act, a policy that would lead to the forced relocation of tens and thousands of Native Americans from their ancestral lands to the territories west of Mississippi. Jackson justified this by arguing that it would protect Native Americans from invading settlers, but the reality was far more brutal. The Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, and other tribes were marched westward on what became known as the Trail of Tears. Thousands died of starvation, disease, and exhaustion on the journey. Historians estimate that over 4,000 Cherokees alone perished. To this day, the Trail of Tears remains a symbol of America's darkest chapter, and Andrew Jackson's role in it is undeniable. Jackson's defenders argued that it was just a product of his time, a president trying to secure the frontier in an era of expansion. But even in his own time, many Americans saw this policy as cruel and inhumane. And in modern context, it's hard not to call it what it was: ethnic cleansing. Jackson's next battle was with an institution he believed was even more dangerous than foreign armies: the Bank of the United States. Jackson saw the bank as a corrupt tool of wealthy elite, a symbol of everything he despised about concentrated power and privilege. In 1832, he vetoed the renewal of the bank's charter, calling it unauthorized monopoly that served the rich at the expense of the common man. His relentless war on the bank threw the financial system into a chaos, and his decision to withdraw federal funds and place them in pet banks led to economic instability. The result? The Panic of 1837, a massive economic depression that threw thousands of Americans into poverty. An ironic outcome for a president who claimed to be the defender of the common man. President Andrew Jackson left office in 1837, but his legacy has continued to haunt American history. For some, he's a hero of democracy, a leader who gave back power to the people who stood up to the elite. But for others, he's a symbol of American hypocrisy, a populist leader who trampled over indigenous rights and destabilized the nation's economy. Even today, Jackson remains a controversial figure. His face graces a $20 bill, but his actions, particularly the Indian Removal Act, have led many to call for his removal. And perhaps this debate over Jackson's legacy is fitting. He embodied the best and worst of America, the ambition, the courage, the relentless drive for success, but also the cruelty, the violence, and the sense of entitlement that have damaged American history. So, what is the conclusion? Is Andrew Jackson America's worst great president? Perhaps. But one thing is certain. His story is a reminder of the power and the peril of unchecked ambition. Andrew Jackson was a man of contradiction, a populist president who betrayed the people he was sworn to protect, a hero who became the villain in the eyes of history. His presidency shaped America for better or worse, and left a legacy that continues to challenge our understanding of what it means to be great. This is the end of the video. If you enjoyed watching this video, then I recommend you watching this one. I want to thank everyone for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, and I hope to see you in the next one.